am so happy today, I truly am, because I get to share with so many of you business leaders, a business leader that I look up to and think is one of the best I've ever met. So we'll have more of that in a minute, but welcome. I'm Neeli Bendapudi, the Dean of the KU Business School. If I don't know you, shame on me, make sure that I say hello so we get to connect today. In 2003, QuikTrip, a convenience store on Fortune's 100 best places to work for. They were in the top 20 or something. So we said, oh my gosh, this is what we've got to study. So we first had the good fortune of meeting Chet Cadieux a little over 10 years ago. And I will never forget how down-to-earth he was, how incredible the company was, and it was our good fortune to write the QuikTrip story in a 2005 article, I believe, for the Harvard Business Review. And guess what? This actually beat out the Mayo Clinic and it's taught in so many business schools around the country because people find it incredible. And it's an incredible opportunity for us today to hear from one of the absolute best CEOs, and I do not say this of everybody, Chet, one of the finest human beings I know, a good friend, and we'll make him a Jayhawk yet. You have his bio, so I'm not reading this out to you, but we will make him a Jayhawk yet, won't we? So please give him the biggest Jayhawk welcome you can, Chet Cadieux, to share the story of QuikTrip, a values-based business.
Well, Neeli pretty much covered it all. What questions do you guys have? I think, And if you guys don't mind, I'm not going to stand up here behind the podium because all you'd see is my nose. I'm only 5'7", so, and I don't stand still very well anyway. So, my name is Chet. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm the CEO of QuikTrip, which I consider to be really, honest to goodness, probably the best job extant. I don't know what you'd find that would be a better gig, because I get to get up out of bed every single morning, and because I'm financially secure, which makes things simpler, I get to go to bed get to go to work with this purpose to provide an opportunity for our employees to grow and succeed, and that's literally why I get out of bed in the morning. And it just so happens that by making our employees successful, we make our shareholders successful, we make our customers happy, and all that sort of thing. But it's hopefully in Kansas City, everybody's been in a QuikTrip store. Is that a fair statement? I mean, I don't want to be arrogant about it, but even if you hate our guts, hopefully you ran out of gas sometime and you had to go in. So you might be shocked, and I'm going to go through a slideshow really quick. I'm really interested in answering whatever questions you have, because otherwise I'm just guessing at what you want to hear. And you don't really make much money on gasoline. By the time that makes us sound really big, and we stick our chests out and we say we're big, we're red, we're tough, but we're one of the largest not-for-profit businesses in the entire country if you were to look at our statements, okay? That's just not a real statistic. Number 30 on the Forbes list of privately held companies, number 48 on the Fortune list of best places to work. And all of that is really truly because we're based on a strong culture. I would tell you that it really is a lot like a cult. The people who leave QuikTrip, that little turnover that we have, those people think we are absolutely bonkers crazy. Because they don't fit, because we made a hiring mistake, because we hire based on some very specific values. There are core values. If you're a reader of Good to Great or Built to Last or any of those books, we cheated whenever we went on this little journey to try to figure out what our core values were. Oh boy, got way ahead, didn't I? First core value is that we only want to hire people, and I want to be very specific about this. A lot of companies have core values. We found them. Okay, you don't sit down and say, this is what we want to be when we grow up. If you're really going to talk about your core values, you say, okay, what is it about this company? If you go through and look at all the people who work here, what do they have in common? Okay, it's not that you aspire to these values, it's that this is who we are. Good or bad, this is what people who work at QuikTrip have in common. And so whenever we figured that out, then we went on a quest to say, you know what, we're only going to hire people who have these same values. Doesn't mean that they don't have other values, they probably do. But the ones we have in common, we need to make sure we hire based on those. And so we were talking here before lunch about how do we find these employees, how do we screen for employees, and it's this. We screen based on these values. And if we find people with these values, which is rare, not because they're the best values or anything, but because this combination is rare, then we hire them. So the first one is we want to find people who want to be the best. And that means people who are hyper competitive. Okay? They want to be the best at every single thing they do. If there's a sport and they aren't any good at it, they don't want to play. Okay? And that's me. Okay? I don't play golf because I am so bad at it that God laughs whenever I pick up a golf club. Okay? I don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's exactly the people that we're trying to hire. We also want to hire people who are never satisfied, which may sound very similar to be the best, but it's not. Because it's possible that you could get to where you're the best at something. So we're looking for people who are the best, and even when they're the best at it, they're still never satisfied, okay? Which is exhausting. I can tell you, I've got 14,000 employees who are never satisfied. If you think your employees whine a lot, you have no freaking idea, all right? I'm hiring whiners intentionally because they're never satisfied. But that means we're constantly evolving, constantly iterating, constantly changing things. If you notice that we remodel our stores, it seems like constantly, it's because we're never satisfied. Okay, we are absolutely positively, and I'll tell any employee at QuikTrip at this, we are not interested in saving Private Ryan. Okay, it's a great movie, love it, cried my eyes out, but that is not what QuikTrip's about. We're interested in the entire platoon. All of our compensation, all of our entire reward system is based on team success. Every employee in the company is paid on exactly the same metric. Okay? We were talking again a little bit earlier about how we have shared labor in the store. There's no division of labor. I mean, everybody cleans the bathrooms, everybody mops the floor, it doesn't matter what your position is, and everybody runs a register. Okay? And they drop what they're doing to go take care of a customer, hopefully, right? The reason for that is because they're paid as a team. Okay? All their bonuses, and it's 20% of their pay, is based on how good a job they do taking care of you guys. And they're paid based on how good a job the team does, not the individual. Even the mystery shopper deal. If you were not at the register, it doesn't matter. Whoever was on the clock is being scored right then whenever that mystery shopper comes in. So we are hiring people who are interested in that, because if they weren't, they would be absolutely miserable if they were being measured as a team all the time instead of being measured individually. And then lastly, and most importantly, we are looking for employees who, no matter what, want to do the right thing. Which sounds really swell, doesn't it? I mean, who would say they don't want to do the right thing? But the reality is that is one of the ones that is the most difficult, because we are screening for people who would even be willing to be paid less in the long run, although it doesn't work out that way, okay? They would be willing to be paid less. They would be willing for QuikTrip to make less money so long as we are doing the right thing every day. What does it mean to do the right thing? Well, it's about ethics and morals and all that sort of thing. But really at its root, the way we tell employees that we expect them to measure that is if at the end of the day, would you be proud to tell your mother what you did today? Okay, very simple. Not your dad, because your dad can justify just about anything, all right? But your mom, could you go home today and look your mom in the eye and tell her what you did today and be proud about it? Okay? Not your best day necessarily, but is there anything in that day that you would not want to tell her? Because if so, you probably didn't do the right thing. Okay? It just so happens, in my belief, and certainly in our experience, that if the number one thing that we focus on is making sure that we take care of the employees, if we've hired the right people, which is important, you can't hire creeps, okay? But if you didn't hire creeps, if you hired good people with consistent aligned values, and then you go and try to make them successful, or at least give them an opportunity to be successful, you're going to be a successful organization, at least in our industry. Now, we were talking before lunch. I understand, and we are very self-aware of the fact that we are not doing anything that complicated. Okay, so that may not work for all industries. I don't know. It's the only place I've ever worked. Okay, I can tell you that in a pure service organization, that is a strategy that's been very successful. A little bit really quick about QuikTrip, about the things that we're good at. I don't ever talk about the things we're bad at. That's not any fun at all. So I'm only going to talk about the things that we're good at. If you talk about Retailing 101, there's the 5 Ps. Hopefully anybody that went to business school knows that what you should be doing as a business is trying to focus on one of these 5 things. You want to be great at one of these 5 things if you want to win in business, okay? And usually it'd be nice to say you're going to be great at all of them, but no business can afford to be great, best in class at all of them. So whenever we look at these, if you use this as a model, what we try to be really great at is people and place. And our definition for it to be a core competency, I don't consider anything at QuikTrip to be a core competency unless we're good enough at it to get paid and get rich consulting on that, okay? If no one would pay me to teach them QuikTrip, I say me, if nobody would pay QuikTrip to teach them about something, then we ain't that good at it, okay? We are that good at people in place. I am a big believer in integrity with your employees. If you go through and you figure out why we make it on the Fortune 100 Best Places to Work list, it's because we care about them, we respect them, and we pay pretty good and all that sort of thing, and because they like who they work with, because they're all just like them, right? We've hired based on these same values, that helps. But the number one thing that really moves us up those rankings is that our employees trust the company, because we never lie to them. If we have bad news, we tell them. If we've got good news, we tell them. If we're not going to be able to raise pay, which has never happened, I believe that they would trust that we really couldn't raise pay. Okay? And if you go through all the companies that go and apply to be on that list, that's what we win based on. We are literally, and this it kind of chokes me up to say it, but we are literally, based on their rankings, the most trusted company in the United States by its employees. Second thing, which you guys are probably less interested in, so I won't spend as much time on it. Second thing we focus on is place. In our industry, location is everything. Okay? Our site selection modeling is literally world class. I can tell you that because at my heart, I'm a math guy. Okay? I'm a statistics nut. I love that stuff. I wrote the first statistical model for selecting sites for QuikTrip back whenever I was in college. I did it in Lotus 1, 2, 3. It was like a multiple regression analysis deal. Literally, in the disc, it was the 5 1/4 inch discs. I mean, I am that old. All right, so I wrote that, and that is nothing like what we do today. I mean, we have an entire department. Our business intelligence group is filled with those people, math PhDs, and not just any math PhDs. These are the people who make you sick because they got their PhD when they were like 12. You know the people I'm talking about? All right, they're geniuses, and they write stuff that is absolutely extraordinary, but we can tell within 2% what a store is going to run in volume before we open it. Okay, just based on, give me a latitude, longitude, and I'll tell you what a QuikTrip would run. Average age of one of our stores, we've been around since 1958, but we tear them down all the time because we find a better location. Things change, traffic changes, people move, all that sort of thing. So the average age of a QuikTrip store is 8.3 years, and we go in and remodel them at least every 3 years. Which takes enormous capital investment to do that. Our stores are very expensive to begin with. There is not an ROI on the planet that would justify it. I'll just tell you that. But if you don't do that, that's how you end up with a huge chain of old stores like most convenience stores are. This is one of my favorite quotes, and it's actually from a young lady who retired from QuikTrip now. She was our CFO. She started out in the mail room, literally, the mail room. And she believed this, and I believe it too. And everything that we do, there's the easy way and there's the right way, and they're never the same, ever, at QuikTrip. If it's the harder way to do it, then odds are you're doing it the right way. And that's what we believe. So, that's it about QuikTrip. What questions you guys have? Oh, you don't need to clap. No, that's all right. Yes, ma'am.
You said the average age of a store is about 8.3 years.
Yep.
Like a store just went up in Gardner, Kansas.
Yep.
So when you looked at that location, there's not really a place to build a new store when you want to remodel it or tear that down.
Yeah.
When you looked at that location, did you look at where you're going to put a new store in roughly 8 years?
No, I mean, that's a great question. I haven't ever thought of it that way. We always think that we're building them for forever. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't spend as much money on them as we do. You'd do stand-up or tilt-up or something. Every time we pick one, this is a great location, it's going to be here forever, and then just so happens that 8 years later, you dirtbags out in Gardner decided to drive to work a different way or something. I mean, it's the damnedest thing. If you just sit still and do your same thing every day, it'd be a lot less expensive for me. But actually, even if it was the same location, I mean, eventually a store gets to where it needs to be redone. And sometimes, in a lot of cases, it's just cheaper to just tear it down and start over. We will look at remodels of a store, and I can tell you, I mean, a QuikTrip store, a new QuikTrip store costs $5 million total. Of that, the actual building envelope is about $1.2 million. The rest of it is equipment and concrete and land, obviously. And so, man, when you start looking at it, and I'm looking at them right now, we're putting kitchens in every single store, right? And so to do that, in some stores costs $250,000. And I'm like, great, let's go do it. And some of them, you know, because the electrical or the plumbing or whatever, it's $500,000, and you start to scratch your head and say, do I really want a 20-year-old store that we shoehorn something into, or do we want to tear it down? In a lot of cases, we tear it down. The only rub is that for us to tear it down, that means we have to close a store. Have you guys ever seen us? It's pretty rare. Have you ever seen us close a How many of you guys have seen us relocate a store 3 feet behind the existing one, right? Across the street, you know, on top of all that sort of thing. And that's because, man, those stores, thanks to you guys, they make pretty good money. I mean, you hate to close that damn thing. Yes, sir.
Chet, do any of your stores have battery charging stations, and can you speak to what you see the
Alternative
future
fuels?
of the alternative fuels
Yeah.
and how it's going to affect your stores?
Right. None of our stores have battery charging stations. One of the funny things about electric vehicles, which will be interesting to see how it's going to get worked out unless you're Mr. Musk, who's going to just give it away, we can't sell electricity. We're not a utility. It's illegal. And so for all the swellness that it sounds like, you know, I'm not in the business to spend $5 million on a piece of real estate and pay our people really well in order to give it away. So that's something they're going to have to figure out. Also, I would tell you that our number one customer complaint, which is a great problem to have, but a real problem, is that we're too busy. No matter how much we keep adding onto the parking lots and growing the stores and all that sort of thing, and you're all nodding your heads, I agree, man. You're taking your life in your hands when you go from the pumps to the store. You better have an orange vest on, man, because it's busy, right? And so, can you imagine if a fast charger, a level 3 charger takes 20 minutes? Can you imagine what would happen if we had a bunch of cars that were on our lot for 20 minutes? You think we're clogged up now? It would be a train wreck. And so that'll be interesting to see. Honestly, I would tell you that I think it is very possible that the future alternative fuel is electric. Not because I know anything, but because that, you know, there's parts of that make sense. I'll get to alternative fuels here in just a minute. If that is the case, then we're basically out of the game. Because you can charge your car at work, you can charge your car at the mall, you can charge your car any number of places. And if that's the case, then we'll sell something else. I mean, we didn't even sell gas till 1972. We'll just sell something else. So we're ready. Yeah.
I see on your bio that you that QuikTrip employs 60% part-time people.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what. Obviously, that's some kind of conscious decision. What's the rationale behind that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we do anything that consciously. It just so happens that that's what the statistic is. And all of our part-time is associated with peak shaving. Because we are, you know, literally by hour of day, we know in 15-minute increments, by every 15 minutes of the day, we know how many man hours we need on a by-store basis to run that store and deliver the customer satisfaction that we expect to have. Specifically, that the store needs to be stocked, coffee needs to be made, tea needs to be made, we need to clean the parking lot. We know how many seconds it takes to do everything that the store needs to have done to it. And then we know, based on the number of consumers that are going to come through the door, which is actually very predictable. Again, I'm a math guy, okay? So we can predict very accurately in total how many customers are going to come in every 15 minutes over the course of the entire year based on the algorithms. And so we know how many man hours we need in order to meet our customer service standards. That moves around a lot based on traffic patterns of consumers. And so we use part-timers because we need them for 2 hours, okay? We don't use them because trying to save money, other than we don't want them standing around. We actually go the other way. One of the reasons that our employees make so much money starting and throughout their careers is because we intentionally, all of our schedules in the stores is an overtime schedule, okay? They work 48 hours a week, and we are happy to pay them overtime. If you saw our benefits package and what it is as a percent of comp, that is a good idea, because our benefits package is booyah, okay? So it's very expensive, and so rather than pay another person and have another benefits package, why not make this person rich and let them work as many hours as they want? The part-time is just for peak shaving. Did I answer your question, or was it deeper than that?
Yeah, I was just curious. Usually you think of a great company, or a company that people say it's great to work for. You don't really think of a company that pays people just under the mark that they don't have to pay benefits.
Oh, I got you. Well, our part-timers get benefits.
Yeah.
So,
Did you know that?
yeah, yeah.
Good
They
question.
get it as they get it correlated to their hours, right? So the fewer hours you work, then the less you're going to get in bonuses, and the less you're going to get in retirement benefits and time off and all that sort of thing. But you get health benefits.
I am so glad for you all that you got to see why I think Chet Cadieux is this incredible. Venkat Bendapudi, Professor Bendapudi, and I spent 2 summers studying their stores. And so he said repeatedly, it's not rocket science, it's not brain surgery. Well, I can tell you, I've been very fortunate to study and work with folks that are in brain surgery and rocket science. And what they do is really remarkable. Do you remember, Venkat? We did everything except serve coffee because they wouldn't let us get there. There were too many customers. I want to speak to two things before I formally thank Chet here. One is I've never seen any company invest as much in training. You get a personal trainer, work with you on the job in a busy store like where you'll be. Most retailers, you get trained for a couple of hours somewhere off-site, and then you get put into the store. That's something that I thought was remarkable. Secondly, no lie, I've not met another company, I've not seen another company where everybody really cares about employee safety. I won't go into the stories now, but literally over 2 years, we studied them, and I can tell you that that is true. And I love their philosophy, which I share, that you assume the best of people. And the fact that they do so well by doing the right thing for their employees and for customers. You've heard me talk about the nobility of business. That's something I truly believe in. Business is a noble enterprise, and I can tell you, I can think of none nobler. I've had the great privilege of working with many of them, and I certainly count QuikTrip way up there. And certainly Mr. Cadieux here.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I love you too.
Thank you all for coming, and
you,
we
everybody.
hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure.